Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israel has rushed aid to Nepal after a devastating earthquake measuring 7.8 on the Richter scale killed thousands of people. The Jewish state wasted no time in mobilizing teams of first responders following the deadly tremor that rocked the Asian nation. The Nepalese government described Israel's response and that of other nations as an unprecedented relief effort. Paramedics from Magen David Adom, IDF medics, EMTs, and search and rescue specialists loaded relief supplies and headed to the Nepalese capital of Kathmandu, even as powerful aftershocks rattled the region. Israeli Defense Forces sent staff and equipment to establish a complete field hospital on the ground. More than 2,000 Israeli tourists were said to be in the country when the quake hit. Nepal is a popular destination for young Israeli travelers following their army service, and many stories are circulating of Israeli backpackers using their IDF training to provide first aid to the injured.
The United Nations has released its report on the conflict Israel fought last summer against Hamas after the terrorist group launched hundreds of rockets at civilian population centers in southern Israeli communities. The 207-page report accuses the IDF of misconduct for shelling 7 UN facilities during the 50-day battle. Israeli defense officials say that the strikes were launched after the buildings had been overrun by terrorists who were using them to stockpile weapons. Both during and after Operation Protective Edge, the Israeli army was praised by world leaders for extensive efforts to avoid civilian casualties. Thousands of flyers were dropped from the skies above Gaza, warning Palestinians to not endanger themselves by harboring terrorists. The IDF also went to great lengths to provide residents with advance notice of strikes, warning them to evacuate specific structures. The Hamas terrorists, however, surrounded themselves with innocents whom they used as human shields. They also launched rockets from schools crowded with those seeking refuge, and as the United Nations report pointed out, Hamas used many UN facilities as depots for weapons and fighters. A Hamas spokesman praised the findings as a clear condemnation of Israel, and Palestinian leaders have already announced their intentions to use it against Israel at the International Criminal Court.
The Muslim Wafd was caught once again destroying ancient artifacts in a calculated move to intentionally erase all Jewish connection to the first and second temples, which stood on Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. Although the Temple Mount and the archaeological evidence buried beneath it are supposed to be protected by international law, the Muslim Wafd has led a campaign to systematically destroy historical artifacts relating to the Jewish temples. Last week, Muslim officials were caught renovating the Dome of the Rock without notifying the Israeli Antiquities Authority. According to Israeli archaeologists, the recent construction, which included digging up the floor of the Dome of the Rock, destroyed relics from both Jewish temples as well as from the Roman, Crusader, and Ottoman periods. In 1999, the Wafd excavated more than 8,000 tons of Jewish artifacts from the holy site and dumped it outside as garbage. Historians around the world have appealed to their governments to pass legislation to protect the World Heritage location, but most have been silenced for fear of upsetting Muslims and sparking further violence.
Former President George W. Bush has broken his silence and spoken out against his successor's handling of the Iranian nuclear threat. Bush is reported to have harshly criticized policies of President Barack Obama as naive during a meeting of the Republican Jewish Coalition. The former commander-in-chief went on to say that Obama has also failed to stop the Islamic State terror group, which has murdered hundreds of Christians in its quest to establish a caliphate in the Middle East.
Israeli Independence Day festivities were marred by rocket fire last week when Gaza-based terrorists broke the calm by shooting missiles into southern Israel. No one was injured, and the IDF quickly responded by destroying the rocket launching site in the Hamas-run enclave. In other violence, one Palestinian terrorist was shot after stabbing an Israeli border guard stationed at the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron. Another Palestinian man was shot attempting to stab a border guard in a suburb of Jerusalem. Palestinians rioted in eastern Jerusalem, and 4 Israeli border guards were run down by a terrorist. Israeli leaders blame the Palestinian Authority for the wave of terror. PA leader Mahmoud Abbas has on several occasions called on Palestinians to use violence against Israelis. Tensions are also running high on Israel's northern border. Aaron has more on that story.
Yes, Yochanan, that's right. Arab news sites are alleging that the Israeli Air Force launched a series of strikes on several targets on the Syrian-Lebanese border over the past week, including multiple precision attacks on Syrian military depots housing strategic weapons such as long-range and Scud missiles. Additional reports claim that the Israeli Air Force successfully destroyed 2 weapons convoys in the area. Iran's Hezbollah proxy army is operating in Syria and Lebanon and been stockpiling sophisticated weapons that pose a great threat to the Jewish state. Israeli officials have remained tight-lipped over the alleged campaign, although just days before it began, the chief of the Israeli Air Force warned Lebanese civilians against harboring any Hezbollah terrorists or weapons in their homes. And meanwhile, in a separate incident, the IDF has confirmed that soldiers successfully targeted a group of armed infiltrators from Syria who were setting up an ambush of Israeli troops by planting explosive devices along the nation's northern border last week when the terrorists were neutralized.
French authorities thwarted what they are calling a major terrorist attack on a church in Paris. According to reports, the Muslim suspect accidentally shot himself as he was preparing his weapons for the massacre. He was arrested in possession of 3 assault rifles and a list which authorities said contained details of potential Christian targets in France.
Armenian Christians living in Jerusalem marked the genocide carried out against their people in Turkey by the Muslim Ottoman Empire 100 years ago. Memorial services were held in the Old City in tribute to the estimated 1.5 million members of their community who were murdered during the First World War in 1915. Many families who fled the area for Israel during that time still live in the country, where they enjoy the protection and freedom offered by the only true democracy in the region. The Armenian quarter of Jerusalem's Old City is thriving, and the Christian community has not only been able to preserve their culture, but to continue to educate others about the atrocities that their people suffered in modern-day Turkey.
Israel is famous for its drip irrigation technology. In fact, many believe that Israel's ability to grow flowers, fruits, and vegetables in the sand is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Isaiah said the barren deserts of Israel would bloom. Those of you who have ever been to southern Israel would have seen the lush oasis that has grown there with the help of drip irrigation. This Israeli technology has been applied in developing countries and is now fighting famine around the globe. According to Rafi Mehodar, the inventor of modern drip irrigation, his technology is the only one that has been proven to significantly increase the supply of food. Mehodar created his patented drip irrigation pressure valve while working for Netavim, an Israeli irrigation company which operates worldwide. Netavim has sold over 150 billion drip irrigation devices, which have cut down water use by up to 90%. Mehodar said that Israeli irrigation technology is saving the world tens of billions of gallons of water every year. It's now used in over 150 countries and is helping to feed nearly 1 billion people.
Israeli and Australian scientists have made a major medical breakthrough in the regeneration of heart cells. The British newspaper, The Guardian, is reporting that cardiac experts from Israel's Weizmann Institute of Science and their counterparts from Sydney's Victor Chang Research Institute have been able to stimulate heart muscles to grow in mice. The binational team is now hoping to apply this life-saving technology to humans to help patients not only recover from heart attacks and other conditions, but to also overcome genetic defects. The findings are currently being featured in the Scientific Journal of Nature Cell Biology. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Zev Ornstein from the City of David Foundation. Zev, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
So I was just at the City of David Foundation. I've been there many times, but every time there's something different. It's really miraculous. You've literally found the City of David.
It's an amazing thing because for almost 1600 years, when people thought of ancient biblical Jerusalem, they were thinking of the old city of Jerusalem. Now, the old city of Jerusalem is old. The walls around the old city are older than the United States, about 450 years old. But ancient biblical Jerusalem, the city of David, is close to 4,000 years old. And that has only been discovered in the last 150 years.
You know, when I was there with you, you took me to the place where David actually held court. How do you know that's where he was?
So that's the amazing thing about archaeology, is it's a science. And so what you have are the leading archaeologists from academic institutions in Israel and from all over the world. And what happens is they come and they excavate together with the Israel Antiquities Authority. And the excavation you're talking about, David's Palace, Dr. Eilat Mazar found walls dating back to what she believed was the time of David. Now, how do we know it's the time of David? She found pottery at the base of these walls, and she dates the pottery back to the 10th century BCE, 3,000 years ago, the time of David. Now, what happens? Other archaeologists and scholars come and say, wait a minute, Dr. Mazar, we think that pottery is not from the time of David, but 70 years later. So what's the debate in the world of archaeology today? Was this the palace of David, or was this the palace of Solomon, or of David's grandson? The debate is not over what this place was. This was the royal government palace of the first temple period of the Davidic dynasty. Was David there? Was Solomon there? That archaeologists are still debating, but it was one of them.
You know, the City of David is outside the walls of the Old City, but there are tunnels leading from the City of David into the Old City. What were those tunnels used for?
We have 3 times a year, you have the Pilgrimage Festival. We discovered 10 years ago in the City of David the ancient pool of Siloam. This was a large ritual bath that Josephus talks about in his writings, that he said that millions of people on the pilgrimage festivals would go from the pool of Siloam in the southern end of the City of David, and they would walk on the pilgrimage road all the way up to the Temple Mount, where they would go up to the temple and worship God there. And what we've discovered in the last 10 years is the actual pilgrimage road where our ancestors walked upon this road. And beneath the road, we found the ancient drainage channel, where Josephus tells us that during the period of the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans, the last 2,000 Jews of Jerusalem were seeking refuge beneath this drainage channel, beneath the pilgrimage road. And the Romans found them, and they broke open the pavement, and they killed the last 2,000 Jews who were there. And today, visitors to the City of David, they can walk on the pilgrimage road and walk in the drainage channel on the way up to the Old City, to the western wall of the Temple Mount.
You know, we saw when we were going through the tunnels that there were actually rocks that were, I guess from an explosion on the Temple Rock, came in crashing into the tunnels. How do you know that that was really from the Temple Mount?
The amazing thing is, Herod, who was a master builder, he was also good at other things which weren't so pleasant, but Herod was a master builder, and he would carve stones in a certain way that basically he was leaving his calling card. There are people, you know, who are famous for their graffiti or for their paintings, and they have a style of what they do. Herod, when he built, he had his style, and that could be seen on the stones that are found in the vicinity of the Temple Mount and in that drainage channel.
One of the most impressive things of the tour that I saw was that you actually got to see Jerusalem from the eyes of King David. You know, he talks about the hills around Jerusalem. When you stand there, you see those hilltops. What kind of impression did that leave on Jewish, Christian, tourists of faith when they see exactly what was written in the Bible?
What I think is so amazing about the City of David is that today there are millions, if not billions, of people around the world who believe in the truth of the Bible. Today, we also live in a generation where people don't just want to believe, they also want to know. Is the Bible a book of faith only, or is it also a historical document? And what you have in the City of David, in the archaeological excavations that are pulling the antiquities out of the ground, is it's allowing people to both believe and also to know. You have science and faith coming together, where a person could say, you know what? I believe that this happened, and I also know that this happened. King David was a real person. The prophet Jeremiah was a real person. Isaiah was a real person. I can believe it and I can know it.
Something that's really incredible to me is that it's not just a stagnant place. You're actually uncovering things all the time. What's the newest thing coming out of Ir David?
What we have in the city of David today, the largest active excavation in Jerusalem, is the Givanti parking lot excavation. This was, 10 years ago, it was a parking lot. We've discovered underneath this parking lot 12 layers of ancient Jerusalem civilization, dating back to the first Israelite kingdom some 2,800 years ago, and 10 plus layers on top of that. And we are excavating down to the bedrock there, to the first temple period. On top of that, we have second temple, we have Hasmonean, we have Herodian, Roman, Byzantine, early Muslim, Ottoman, British, and so on. And this is coming to life before our very eyes, where we're just every day finding new discoveries and new histories of ancient Jerusalem and all the peoples who walked through there.
Zev, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
So what I think is so important to appreciate about the city of David and ancient Jerusalem is the Romans, when they destroyed Jerusalem, when they destroyed the city of David, they minted coins. And on their coins, it said Judea Capta. Judea, which was the name of this country, with its capital Jerusalem, is destroyed, is finished. And here we are today. We are here. The Romans, they're gone, right? The great Roman Empire doesn't exist anymore, but the Jewish people have come back to Jerusalem, to the city of David, and it's coming back to life. And we have millions of people coming through the city of David. And that, I think, is the greatest testament to the truth of the Bible, that the prophecies are being fulfilled, and I encourage all of your viewers to come and experience it for themselves.
Thank you, Zev, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, shining light from Israel.
Is Israel an apartheid state? More and more these days, one hears this charge made. Oddly, when South Africa was an apartheid state, no one accused Israel of being one. The reason the charge was never made then, and shouldn't be made now, is the same. There's no truth to it. To those who know something about Israel or have just visited there once, the accusation is absurd, if not obscene. Indeed, it's a libel. But many people don't know very much about Israel, so let's respond to this accusation. First, what exactly is an apartheid state? And does Israel, or any one other country, fit that definition? Let's look at South Africa, the country that came up with this term. In South Africa from 1948 to 1994, there was an official policy that declared blacks second-class citizens in every aspect of life. Blacks couldn't vote, couldn't hold political office, were forced to reside in certain locations, couldn't marry whites, couldn't even use the same public restrooms as whites. Not one of those restrictions applies to the many Arabs living in Israel. 1.5 million Arabs live in Israel. They constitute about 20% of that country's population. Every single one of them has the same exact rights as all other Israeli citizens, and they always have. They can vote, and they do. They can serve in the Israeli parliament, and they do. They can own property, businesses, and work in professions alongside other Israelis, and they do. They can be judges, and they are. Here's one powerful example. It was an Arab judge, who sentenced the former president of Israel to jail on a rape charge. And nobody batted an eyelash that an Arab judge would sentence a Jewish president to prison. Some other examples. Rita Mansour is the youngest ambassador in Israel's history. Walid Badir is an international soccer star on Israel's national team. Rana Raslan is the former Miss Israel. Ismael Khaldi was the deputy consul of Israel in San Francisco. Khaled Abu Tomei is a major journalist with the Jerusalem Post. Galeb Majadel was until recently a minister in the Israeli government. They are all Israeli Arabs, not one is a Jew. And how many people outside of Israel know that all the road signs in Israel, for example, are in English, Hebrew, and Arabic? Not only is Israel not an apartheid state, Arabs in Israel are freer than any Arabs in the Arab world. No Arab in any Arab country has the civil rights and personal liberty that Arabs in Israel have. That's because Israel is a pluralistic, liberal democracy, the only one in that part of the world. Now you might say, well, okay, Palestinians who live inside Israel have all these rights, but what about the Palestinians who live in what are commonly known as the occupied territories? Aren't they treated differently? Well, of course they are, because they're not citizens of Israel. They are governed by either the Palestinian Authority or Hamas. The only control Israel has over these people's lives takes place when they want to enter Israel. Then they are subjected to long lines and strict searches because Israel has to weed out potential terrorists. And what about the security wall that divides Israel and the West Bank? Is that an example of apartheid? That's rather easy to respond to. Is the security fence being built between the United States and Mexico an example of apartheid? Of course not. Israel built its security wall solely in order to keep terrorists from entering Israel and murdering its citizens. And you know what? It's worked. The wall, most of which, by the way, is an electronic fence, went up in 2002 during a time when Palestinian suicide bombers were regularly murdering Israeli civilians in buses, on streets, and in restaurants. And the moment the barrier went up, terrorism went down almost to zero. So then, why is Israel called an apartheid state? Because by comparing the freest, most equitable country in the Middle East to the former South Africa, those who hate Israel hope they can persuade uninformed people that Israel doesn't deserve to exist, just as apartheid South Africa didn't deserve to exist. And if you don't believe me, just ask the people who know better than anyone else what a lie it is that Israel is an apartheid state, the one out of every 5 Israelis who is an Arab, which is why they prefer to live in the Jewish state than in any Arab state. I'm Dennis Prager.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
In 1980, the Israeli parliament passed a law declaring a united Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the State of Israel. Threatened by the Arab League with an oil embargo, national embassies in Jerusalem closed their doors. That same year, Christians from around the world gathered in Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Sensing the isolation of the Israeli people, the participants and leaders of this gathering decided to establish the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem.
It's always important for us to remember that the Christian embassy was actually established out of the Feast of Tabernacles. And this is something which marvels me until today, to think that for now more than 30 years, Christians are coming from all over the world to celebrate with us a Jewish festival, Sukkot. Ray, what is your experience with that?
Just for me personally, it's such an amazing expression of unity of the body of Christ to see so many Christians from so many different backgrounds, from so many different faith origins, and they come to Jerusalem and everything is kind of put aside with just this heart and intent to number one, worship the Lord, but then also to want to be a blessing to this nation and an encouragement to this nation. I think it's a great opportunity for people to come, and it's a great season for people to come and visit Israel.
You are traveling all over the world. You know what it means to see churches all over the world supporting Israel.
Yeah, we not only have a mandate here in Israel, but we also have it in the nations.
Yes.
And in the nations, we serve the local body of Christ with our message. Jesus at the center, his character of covenant-keeping God highlighted in his dealings with Israel. And the Lord has been good to us. We've been able to touch the whole nations. We raised the global prayer on behalf of Israel, and we are acting as a bridge between the Gentile nations and Israel. And we do all this because we know that whoever blesses Israel shall be blessed.
Actually, to bless Israel, practically there's much more than just coming here as a visitor to this land. Nicole, what can people do in order to help Israel very practically?
Well, since Israel was established as a nation, you know that they've been very successful in a great many areas. However, there's still a lot of challenges that Israel faces today in the area of social needs. And it gives us an opportunity as Christians to reach out in a practical expression of love and support for this people and to say to Israel that she's not alone. We have the privilege and the opportunity to work with every sector of Israeli society, whether that's the Jewish, secular, Orthodox, Arabs, Druze, Bedouin, everyone in the whole society. We have the opportunity to work in every sector.
I like what 1 Corinthians 13 says, the love chapter, how it describes love as patient and kind. It also says that love rejoices in the truth. As Christians, we want to be out there, and we carry out our media publications initiative through many mediums. We have a daily news service where reports go out by email. We also post it on our website, www.icej.org. And we have a weekly radio program, Front Page Jerusalem, heard on about 100 Christian radio stations across North America, also around the world. We have weekly TV spots now on Daystar. We're going to be working with God TV on a weekly program called Word from Jerusalem. And our monthly magazine is also called Word from Jerusalem, which it gives you updates about our events, our activities, also current affairs, analysis, I think most important Bible teachings about Israel. And I think when you get to the core of it, we want to speak biblical truth to the church, to the nations about Israel.
You just had the privilege to meet our leadership team here in Jerusalem and to be part of one of our strategic meetings which take place every single week here. Here we strategize, we plan, we think about how we can bless Israel at best. And I want to invite you personally today to partner with the International Christian Embassy here in Jerusalem. We are your embassy. We want to be there for you in order to convey your blessings and to convey your love to the Jewish people. Please stand with us, please pray for us, and prayerfully consider to support us financially. Thank you so much, and may the Lord bless you here out of Zion.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio here in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.